These rebel groups, the FARC and the smaller National Liberation Army, announced that they intend to stop fighting each other and concentrate on attacking the armed forces. The agreement was made in a meeting in Arauca. The note is signed by the ELN's Eastern War Front and the FARC's Eastern Bloc, which since 2006 maintained a bloody territorial war in Arauca that left thousands dead, most of the first organization. According to both redoubts, the end of hostilities was agreed during a meeting in Arauca, held in an atmosphere of great frankness, fraternity, and camaraderie to address the causes that led to an unfortunate and absurd confrontation between sister organizations. In addition, they say they left the meeting with the courage and commitment to do their utmost to heal wounds, to be fully sibling, to encourage the return of the displaced peasants, and to rebuild confidence and hope in the insurgent factions. These groups of the FARC and the ELN present their consensus as a meeting between sister organizations that stimulates the resistance of the locals and also of all Colombians. The conclusion ratified that the difference we must resolve animated in extracting from them strength, constructive decision, and to forge unitary ways. In October 30, a military agreement is signed between Colombia and the United States that will allow the United States to use 7 Colombian bases for cooperation against drug trafficking and terrorism. The governments of Venezuela, Ecuador, and Bolivia reject the agreement, considering that it endangers the sovereignty of their countries and peace in the area. 36. Another relevant fact in this year is the H1N1 flu virus, which enters Colombia. An emergency was declared the capital of Casanare as a result of the detect cases of people infected with the virus H1N1, and that days later the World Health Organization declared it as a global pandemic. Were some of the most important events of this year.
Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez has a very diplomatic relation with neighboring Colombia after Bogotá accused his country of harboring leftist guerrillas. President Hugo Chavez made an announcement on national television Thursday saying he was forced to sever all relations because Colombia claims he has failed to act against rebels who allegedly have taken shelter in Venezuelan territory. Mr. Chavez saying he has ordered Venezuelan military force to be on maximum alert along the border. President Chavez acted after Colombia went before the Organization of American States Permanent Council in Washington to present photographs, maps, coordinates, and videos it said show 1,500 leftist rebels hiding in Venezuela. Colombia's ambassador to the OAS, Luis Alfonso Hoyos, said the documents show what he called the consolidated, active, and growing presence of the terrorist bands in Venezuela. Hoyos said Venezuela had not attacked the guerrillas group as it showed. He challenged Venezuelan officials to let independent observers inspect the series where he said Colombian rebels were taking shelter. Venezuela's OAS envoy Roy Chatterton said the documents that Hoyos presented did not provide any solid evidence of a guerrilla presence in Venezuela. Later, Venezuela's Foreign Minister Nicolás Maduro announced that the Chavez government had ordered its embassy in Bogotá closed and had given Colombian diplomats in Venezuela 72 hours to leave the country. But Colombia and Venezuela had already recalled their respective ambassadors as the dispute intensifies. On Thursday, State Department spokesman P.J. Crowley said Venezuela's rupture of relations with Colombia is not a proper way to others concerned in the region. Colombia requested the OAS session after charging last week that leaders of the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, known as the FARC and the National Liberation Army, or ELN, are hiding in Venezuela. Colombian President Álvaro Uribe, who has had tense relations with President Chavez, steps down next month after 2 terms in office. Bogota previously has accused Venezuela of financing and supporting Colombian FARC rebels, a charge Venezuela has denied. In 2008, Venezuela and Ecuador broke diplomatic relations with Colombia after Colombian troops raided a FARC rebel camp in Ecuador, killing FARC commander Raúl Reyes and at least 20 other people. Venezuela and Colombia also have been at odds over a 2009 agreement allowing the United States to use 7 Colombian military bases for anti-drug operations. President Chavez has called the deal a threat to his country, but the US and Colombia say the agreement does not pertain to other nations.
On the 20th of June 2010, after having obtained the first position in the first round of the presidential election held on May 30 on the same year, was elected in the second round Juan Manuel Santos, President of the Republic of Colombia for 4 years. With his presidency, he initiated the peace process on September 4 of that year, where exploratory talks were published and signed a roadmap. So, on the 18th of October, the dialogues between both parties began in the city of Oslo, Norway. On November 6, the negotiation table will go to Havana, Cuba, and thus continue with the process during which time the first 2 cycles of the peace talks will be held. That is to say, the dialogues began on October 5 in Oslo and then in Havana. They negotiated again with the aspiration of reaching a peace agreement that ends 50 years of terrorism. In the first encounter by the FARC, they participated of the guerrilla commander Mauricio, more known like the Doctor, along with these companions Rodrigo Granda, Marcos Calarca, and Andrés París. On the part of the Colombian government in the process were the Counselor for Security Sergio Jaramillo, the Minister of the Environment Frank Pearl, and Enrique Santos, brother of the President. Actually, the peace talks started in the year 2010, but the agreement was signed in the year 2016. When they started, there was talk of engaging in conversation, and it was made clear that the objective of the dialogue will be the end of the conflict. They both agreed, but the positions were totally different. The government arrived with a proposal of restrict agenda to the disarmament and the guarantees for the return to the civil life. The FARC put on the table its Bolivarian platform and resumed the agenda that had been agreed in the Caguán, which touched on issues as broad as the economic model, a proposal rejected by the government. Therefore, a stage of designing a new agenda began, which after 6 months had 6 points. The government wanted to make a 3-month timetable, probably because it had planned to announce the dialogues at the Summit of the Americas, which it proved impossible. In the second meeting, they began to talk about the contents and methodology of the talks, but in the third, there was a crisis that led to both of them leaving the table and saying goodbye. It was not possible.